Monster Hunter Wilds, and I thought it looked pretty good. Exciting stuff, I thought. Obviously, there's going to be some discussions about performance implications based on series history and, of course, Dragon's Dogma. But, Capcom have just been hitting it out of the park this generation generally, and this looks fantastic, I think.
They've produced so many games.
Actually, I mean, when you think about it, the PS3 generation was where Japanese developers really struggled. Where this time, I feel like they're back. Like this, there's a lot of great Japanese games being made in the past few years, versus Western developers, which I feel have really struggled lately,
right.
with insanely long development cycles and massive budgets and like huge publicized failures. And you have a company like Capcom just like humming along, creating like hit after hit, almost universally great. It's honestly technology. It's genuinely impressive. Like what Capcom is doing should not be understated. They are absolutely firing on all cylinders. And yeah, like you said, their own technology, the Reach for the Moon engine, which, it has its limitations, but I think overall that's been like a gigantic win for Capcom.
Yeah.
Right. And it's cool to see this one continue on that. There's some good stuff in this Monhun trailer that they really do good with the secondary motion characteristics on the enemies.
Fun enemy design too. You and I both laughed when the licking toad rock monster came out. I don't know what it was. That looked really fun. I also, I get flashbacks to our Phanta Ray engine times when I see the furry creatures, because I always remember the furry creatures that they showed off for Deep Down. If you recall those.
Oh god.
Deep Down, Deep Cut. So I like this game. I like some of the environment. It's very like desertified, rocky environments, which take it or leave it. But I think the monster design is like the core part of this game, and also just having like really chunky, slow animations, which is what the series seems to thrive on. To like its entire combat loop is like this, like you have to wait. You have to be careful with how you actually start your attacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all about that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same kind of thing that Dark Souls was built on.
Yeah,
where it's
especially Dark Souls 1.
Demon Souls and everything. Yeah. Where it's in a priority and waiting and wind up times, and it's even more so than that. And it's always been that way.
Yeah. So I guess then we should probably talk about performance just very briefly.
So it's almost like keeping in tune with most of the series history. Because most of these games were unlocked frame rates. Like even the first one on PS2 was not. That was like a 30 FPS game. But then like when it came to PSP and other platforms, it was largely, I believe, just unlocked. And that's kind of the same thing we're seeing here, where it's just an unstable frame rate. It was like that in World.
It was
as well, and that's now locked 60 on the current new consoles, obviously, which is nice. But it seems like they're continuing, just like Dragon's Dogma 2, where they're just they don't seem to know how to implement a frame rate cap though, because they added it to Dragon's Dogma 2, but it's the worst frame rate cap I've ever seen. Like it's actually just straight up doesn't work right.
Detrimental to the visuals completely.
Yeah, it completely breaks the frame pacing in a way that's like breathtaking. Like it's so bad. It's unbelievable that they would ship that. But when it's unlocked, it's just, it doesn't feel that stable.
Yeah. It's the same here. It's obviously running.
That's why you play it on Xbox.
For the
because the Xbox has much better VR support, so you actually get the full benefit.
Yeah. So like that's the one thing, like with Dragon's Dogma 2, before that came out, they
could fix it on PS5 if they did 120 hertz container, but
but like they just don't for some reason do it. It's weird. Like I really wish sometimes we had like really great web contact with them, because then we could just be like, I have a really good idea for you guys.
Genuinely, like, please listen to us. Like, what we're saying actually makes sense here, and many other developers I think would agree on this frame consistency stuff. Like there are ways to mitigate this, and they just didn't take that step,
especially in the VRR environment now.
So
one thing about Dragon's Dogma 2, before that came out, we were like worried about what it would be like on console, just because we could see the performance in the trailers, and we're like, okay. And following the fact that they'd never run capped frame rates in any of their games, even on like PS4 and Xbox One. So like we were worried, and here I would say that same level of trepidation is there, just at least on the console side. We have no idea about PC at all.
Well, this is another great thing about the state of play, which is, as per normal, there was full transparency on what the assets were that you were actually seeing. And I always sort of have to give them a tip of the hat to, when the Concord cinematic came out, it literally said not actual gameplay.
Yeah.
which is almost disparaging in a sense. You know,
Yeah.
could have just said not gameplay, cinematic scene,
But it's honest, at
not
least.
actual
Actual
gameplay. It's like, yeah, hold your horses, guys. Yeah, so this was presumably running on PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 5 development kit. I'm curious when we're talking about unlocked frame rates about PS5 Pro, what the potential is there.
Depends on where they're
CPU
because
limited.
Dragon's Dogma 2 is like heavily CPU bound.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
it is.
So it could be real tricky.
possibly.
I mean,
possibly.
here, like, the environment's a bit starkly decorated. I mean, it was Dragon's Dogma, really CPU bound, just mainly city villages. Oliver found like you can get like to like 50 FPS
There's-
on like Xbox Series X,
Yeah,
right?
there won't. I mean, there will be the hub worlds here again, but there won't.
Yeah,
be the
there'll be
cities,
stuff.
not complicated like Dragon's Dogma 2.
If
May-
it's-
yeah, probably.
If CPU is not the issue, they've got options here. I mean, they use an interlaced form of reconstruction, which isn't particularly efficient compared to other methods. If they've got
Yeah.
PSSR
No, that ain't great.
plus an extra, mooted 45% of GPU power,
60 should be on the table. Then,
it
if
should be
is
on the
not.
table. So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of discussion as once PS5 Pro is officially announced, the implications for existing titles and also for the Pro implementations of new games going forward, which I think is going to be a really interesting discussion for us, certainly. Mm-hmm. Anything else to say about Monster Hunter Wilds?
We should do a 3-player co-op thing or something for this.
Oh, yeah.
Are any of you guys actually have played the series in the past?
I played Monster Hunter
only a
World
little
a
one.
bit.
Only a
Like
little
for
bit.
like really played?
No.
Okay, because like they're really fun in co-op. That was when I used to play. I used to meet up with friends at Barnes and Noble on a Thursday night, and we would bring our PSPs and just
I was
play
Barnes and
Monster Hunter and then Metal Gear Peace
Online?
Walker
Right,
Yeah, like,
cool.
Yeah.
on PSP multiplayer, and it was fun. I gotta admit, I have a soft spot. I haven't really played Monster Hunter that much since the PSP days, but it was a good multiplayer game, and I hope this one keeps that up.
Fantastic.
It should do.